All right, Algebra Half, happy Friday. Lesson 40, reciprocals, multiplication rule, and a division rule of equality. Reciprocals, review. What is a reciprocal? In any case, it's like an inverted fraction of the original number. Whole numbers can be written as reciprocals. 5 is just 1 over 5. See how we've inverted the fraction? Because what's the denominator for any whole number? 1. So any whole number has a reciprocal with a numerator 1 and itself for the denominator. If we have a fraction, we invert. Just like in English, when we talk about an inverted sentence, we move bottom to top, top to bottom, and we end up with 7 seconds. Okay, reciprocal, the inverted fraction. The number 0 can be written with a denominator of 1. Okay, what about 0? You can write it like that. It still means 0, but when we turn it upside down, what do we get? Of course, 1 over 0. We say this expression has no meaning because there's no such thing as dividing by 0. No such thing as dividing by 0. You can't do it. 0 is the only number that has no reciprocal. Okay, and you can have that reminder bolded on page 132 there for you. Multiplying by a reciprocal, so the product of a number and its reciprocal will always be what? In all of these cases, 5 times 1 over 5, 3 times 1 over 3, 2 over 7 times 7 over 2. Let's try it. If this is times, okay, 2 times 7 over 7 times 2. How do I reduce? Big 1. It's always going to be 1. Good so far? Seen this word before? How do we pronounce that? You remember? If a variable is multiplied by a number, we say that the number is the coefficient. Coefficient. The C makes the C-I-E-N-T makes the shunt. In the expression 4x, make your x's a little fancy so you don't mix them up with time signs. In the expression 4x, we say 4 is the coefficient of the variable x. A coefficient is a number attached to a variable by what operation do you think? What operation is going on here? It's a times, right? So to undo the variable and get it to go away in algebra, we've always divided by the coefficient, which essentially cancels it out and gives me 1 over 1x, which means 1x, which can really just be shown as x. Okay? All right. I'm going to delete some of this good reminder information. All right. We've got 3 algebra problems. They're called equations because it's 2 values set equal to each other. Equal equation. Right? So equal. 4x is supposed to equal 12. So whatever we fill in for x when multiplied by 4 should equal 12. It's a missing number multiplication problem. Missing a factor for the product 12 with another factor 4. But we solve it now with algebra because we know how to do this. We said when we have a coefficient, we divide by the coefficient to cancel out and get 1x, which is going to be x. We're trying to solve for x by getting it by itself. Now, remember, just like in addition, when you multiply or divide either side of an equation, you must do unto one as you did the other. You can't just divide the left. You also divide the right. So what's 12 divided by 4? 1x equals 3, so x equals 3. Good? So we can solve by division. Division is the same as multiplication by a reciprocal, really. 12a equals 7. If we want to get a by itself, we could divide by 12, certainly. Some people like to move horizontally, though, and think of this instead as multiply by the reciprocal 1 over 12. See what happens then? Because really this is 12 over 1. So I'm going to get a different color out. The 12s cancel. The 1s, I suppose we could say cancel, but they're still 1s. So we end up with 1a. So we did that all. If you like the canceling and the multiplication of reciprocals end of things, right, this carries down, then you can just do it by multiplying by reciprocals. Now in this case, I would absolutely use multiplication. Dividing when it's already a factor is not an easy task. It'd be much simpler to simply multiply both sides by what? You can use orange for this. Multiply both sides by 3 or 3 over 1. Why? Because check out what happens when I do this. Cancels. So I get m times 1, 1 times 1, 6 times 3, 1 times 1. Moving my way vertically, right? M, because this is all canceled, equals 6 times 3. It's an 8. Over 1, 18. Okay, we're solving with algebra, and since this is so important, we see it so often in our book now, let's do one last one. What if I had 2/3 of a y, and that comes out to 1/5? What is y worth? So we're trying to get down here to get what y is, y by itself. How can I get this y by itself and lose its 2/3? So it's just y equals. What do you think? I could try to divide, but I wouldn't recommend that. Instead, let's multiply by the reciprocal. If I multiply this side by 3 over 2, I have to do the same thing to both sides. 3 over 2, 3 over 2. Don't make this 2 over 3. Always 3 seconds for this one. Crosses out and gives me 1y. I like that. No simplification or canceling, so I'm just going to go across and go across. 1y, you can drop that 1. So therefore, it's just y equals 3/10. Questions, let me know. I would like you to try well, take a look at 40.5 and make sure solving by dividing and having decimals won't throw you off. Practice A, B, C, and D because they're so important. You're solving each equation by multiplying both sides of the equation by reciprocal or by dividing both sides by the coefficient. Okay, just like we either started with coefficients or multiplying by reciprocals, that gives you 1. All right, let's see how that goes.